Hello and welcome to Sonder. My name is Maggie. I am a knitter, sewist, general fiber artist, doctor, and new mom living in Denver, Colorado. How is everybody? It is September 30th, and I just have to say, I'm so sorry yet again for being gone for so long. I feel like I have so much to catch you guys up on. It was not my intention to take another 2-month hiatus, but let me just, can we just discuss that it is quite challenging to go back to work after having a child? Who'd have thought? I mean, of course it is. Now that I'm saying this out loud, I'm like, obviously it's hard to go back to work after having a child, but I think the added difficulty of going back to work as a resident physician, which means that our schedule is crazy. Literally my first month back, every 5 days I was working a 24-hour shift at the hospital, and then the rest of the days I was just working a 12-hour shift. So imagine having a 3-month-old and doing that. It was a time. But that's behind me. I'm feeling much more grounded. I'm feeling much more excited and energized and creatively empowered. And I wanted to come on here and share. I have so much knitting to talk to you about. I have so much reading. I have a trip to the fiber mill. It's gonna be a long one. Settle in, grab a cup of something. I am currently sipping on some tea that is actually apple cider tea. It tastes so good. Fall is in the air. I am looking out the window and just looking at a giant tree that half of the leaves are yellow and the other half are kind of a dark yellowish greenish color. And it's just bringing me so much joy. Y'all, I love fall. I mean, I know that everybody in the fiber community loves fall, and I think that's why I love you guys, because honestly, you know what? I just realized I just said you guys, and I'm sorry if that was triggering to anybody. I'm trying to be more present and use words that make people feel excited and interested in being part of this community. And I should have said y'all, because guys is gendered, and that is my bad. So anyway, that's why I love y'all, because, the knitting community just embraces fall and winter in a way that I feel like many other communities don't. I grew up loving winter. I grew up in a ski town in Northwest Colorado where snow is everything. And so I've always loved winter the best, but fall's great too. Anyway, man, this has been a time. Going back to work has been interesting. So the last month that I had, my first month back to work, I was working in the NICU, the neonatal ICU, which is the critical care unit that takes care of little babies and babies who have some sort of medical problem. So it was honestly really intense. I think that the empathy that I feel now as being a mother and going back to work is probably really nice for my patients, but there is a burden with empathy that I honestly don't think I've experienced before as a pediatrician. I have kids that I love, I'm an auntie, and it's amazing, but wow, it's just a different experience. And it was hard, I think, going right back to the NICU after being so close to what these mothers and fathers are going through. It is just a lot. And so that was a hard month for me. And I did take a lot of solace in knitting. I did a lot of knitting and some reading as well. And that was just wonderful. But it was hard. It was hard. I was barely, let's say I was surviving and not thriving. All right. And then this month, the month of September, I have been working in the Children's Hospital Emergency Department, which has been good, but has been like literally insanely busy. You know, it used to be that the respiratory season would only happen during kind of the winter months. And now we're in full-blown respiratory season. Everybody's getting bronchiolitis. Everybody's having an asthma exacerbation. It's bananas. So the EDs are just full of kids, especially because they just went back to school. You know, going back to school is hard. It's hard on the littles, but yeah, I'm just, fall is fully in the air here in Denver, Colorado, and I could not be more happy. So my intention is to be much more present here on this channel. To the people who have been, you know, along the ride with me for the last year or two, thank you so much for sticking with me. And also, I owe y'all a massive apology because I have just been all over the place, but I really want to connect with people more, and I want to make it a priority in the coming year to really focus more on hanging out with you guys and also about like documenting my life. I think the thing about being a new mom is time flies. It goes by so quickly, and I want to have somewhere where I can look back on the videos of what I've been doing at different parts in my life. And yeah, I mean, I think it's like as much for me as it is for the connection that I have with all of y'all. So thank you for being here. I am actually sitting in the same place that I used to sit. I got this cool new chair from the Brass Armadillo, which is this like antique mall in Denver. And there's a little step stool. I don't know why I had the desire to tell you that because you can't see it, but I just made myself more comfortable, and I hope that you make yourself more comfortable. But I'm actually sitting in the same location, but the background looks very different from what you've experienced in the past. And that is because we remodeled our kitchen, which was so necessary. It used to be that cooking in our kitchen was literally impossible because there was only like a 2-foot area of space that you could actually use the countertop. But now there's so much space, and it is beautiful. I will hopefully insert some pictures here, but it was a time that was part of why we went up to Steamboat for the end of my maternity leave, was so that the workers could be here remodeling the kitchen. But we, you know, have a slightly different background because just kind of the composition of the house has changed, but I love it so much. And now I love cooking again, where when my kitchen was not usable, I really didn't love cooking that much. Like, it was just really challenging. So yeah. Oh, the other thing that I need to insert. So Sean and I got home, and it was still kind of in the throes of the remodeling process. And I have an amazing video of just like kismet. Like, that's all I'll say. And just like the serendipity of this moment is amazing. So let me just show this video now.
Crazy.
It looks so much
Super
better.
crazy.
It's crazy. I mean, was that not literally hilarious? Anyway, so let's get into the making and, you know, general sharing. Right now, I am wearing a shawl that I really love. So this is a shawl that I knit a couple of years ago. This is the Shifty, I think is what it's called. It's the Shifty Shawl by Andrea Mowry. And I got a kit of this gifted to me by my mom from, I believe it's Goosey Fibres, and it was their collection that was inspired by Winnie the Pooh, which I grew up loving Winnie the Pooh. So yeah, I really, really love this. This is a great shawl for like color work beginners who want to learn how to do some color work, but are a little bit scared to carry 2 different yarns at once because it is mosaic. So it's great. It's fun. It's fun to see the colors shifting. The original pattern is made out of Spincycle yarns, which I didn't use, but I have been knitting a lot with Spincycle and I love it. So more on that to come. But that is my me-made object. I'm also wearing some earrings that I made a couple of years ago with one of my very best friends who, she's a silversmith and she's like the coolest. She's also a knitter. She's awesome. So anyway, she and I had like a metalwork crafting day and she taught me how to make this. She also helped me make my husband and I's wedding bands. So these silver wedding bands I made for me and my husband for our wedding. And yeah, so some me-made objects on today. It unfortunately is a little bit too hot to like fully embrace my sweaters, but like we're getting there, you know, like the temperatures are changing and I can see in the horizon my ability to wear more of a me-made outfit. What else do I want to share? Right now I'm wearing some new jeans. I love them. They're from Madewell. I recently went on a little shopping spree and got a couple new pairs of pants, but more on that to come. I just wanted to bring it up because, you know, I decided to film today, honestly, because I felt good. Like, I just felt like I looked good and felt good. And I think it's interesting, like, for the longest time, after having a child, obviously my body composition changed. And I have been wearing a lot of yoga pants, and yoga pants are great. They're super comfortable. They're flattering, question mark. Mainly they're just comfortable. And the thing is I think that like if it is your decision to wear yoga pants, it's lovely to wear comfortable, stretchy pants. But when it's your only option of the only clothes you can wear, then it becomes not so great to wear yoga pants every day. So I recently invested in some clothes that actually fit me and fit my new body, and I feel a lot better about myself. And so this is just my general PSA. You know, I know that I come from a place of privilege that I can afford to go buy some new clothes, but even going to like Goodwill or Savers or the Ark, like different, you know, clothing stores that carry things that are not brand new is really affordable and good for the environment. And it's just has helped me feel better. You know, I know that's like crazy to say, but it's hard when you know, don't really feel like yourself and don't feel like you can express yourself in the way that you want to. So if your body has changed, whether that's gaining a bunch of weight, losing a bunch of weight, going through a medical transition, what have you, no matter how it's changing, like get something that you can put on your body that makes you feel beautiful or handsome. Yeah, it's important. Anyway, that is a tangent that I don't really know why I decided to go on it, but I did. I'm gonna take a little sip of my tea and then show off some finished objects that I have. So, I have two finished objects. The first one is my Yell cardigan, and y'all, can we just discuss? It is amazing. I love this thing. So, this is my Yell cardigan. This is a pattern by Wallin. And I knit this over the course of almost an entire year for the Wallin Cal that we were doing with a bunch of different kind of podcasters. I was not like part of it. I was just like taking part in it, if that makes any sense. But I knit this out of a bunch of different yarns, mainly two different brands. So Jamieson's and Smith and Jamieson's of Shetland, which are very similar yarns. They're both 2-ply kind of fingering weight or jumper weight yarn that is rustic and beautiful, and I love this thing. So this is it. Let me just stand up and kind of show it to you. I feel amazing in it. Like, I have made a lot of modifications to this sweater, and I will actually be releasing a video here shortly that goes through all of those modifications, so I'm not going to talk about it now. I just wanted to show it off. It's amazing. My sweater is a little bit more tightly fitted in the arms than the actual sweater calls for, which is probably my main modification. And then the other thing that I did is a lot of people are having trouble with this button band kind of flipping up. And so I knit a backing to the button band and whip stitched it down to the steek. So those were my biggest modifications. I love it so much. It's like entirely too warm to wear right now, but it's beautiful. I love it. I have been wearing it on the cool mornings and it is just perfection. Please knit this. It's so much fun. It's a lot of knitting and it's like kind of an intense undertaking because there are 3 steeks in it, but it will make you feel so cool. It honestly made me feel like a knitter with a capital K. Like I was like, I've knit the yellow cardigan. I'm a knitter, you know, which I already felt like a knitter, but now I feel like a legit knitter. So anyway, isn't it beautiful? I love it. So anyway, that's my yellow cardigan. It's kind of oversized and cropped and perfect, if you ask me, but entirely too hot to wear right now, but will be beautiful for the winters. So that is my biggest and probably most favorite knitted object I've ever made. It feels so good. So that is the first finished object I have. And the second finished object I have is this tiny little Jessie Maed Designs. I think it's like my secret crop or like my perfect little crop or my summer crop, or it's one of the cropped ones. It is knit from the bottom up in DK weight yarn. And this is the Farmer's Daughter's Juicy DK. And I don't remember the colorway, but I'll try to put it down in the description box below. And then the back, I did have to add just a little bit of an extra color on the back of the straps, but I actually think it's like kind of a cool, funky little like surprise, you know? This is pretty cropped, but it's really fun. I really like wearing it with high-waisted pants like this. I actually think it looks like kind of like fun and funky. And I think that this is something I'm gonna get a lot of wear out of in the winter time when I wanna put something warm next to my skin under my sweaters or under like a cardigan. So really love it. And actually, I knit this is gonna sound weird. I knit this as kind of a wearable toile for another skein of Juicy DK that I have, which I have right here. So I am part of the Farmer's Daughter Fibres Indigenous Collective, which is amazing. I highly recommend you going and checking it out on the Farmer's Daughter website. But essentially, Candace, who is the head of Farmer's Daughter Fibres, and her team, they make colors based on sort of inspired by Indigenous artists. And it is such an amazing collaboration. And I have gotten 3 skeins of, like, I've gotten 3 months of it and love every single one. I'm like obsessed with this. And it's also just fun to do something like that because each month it's like getting a little surprise present to yourself, which we all deserve that. But this is the July color and it is so beautiful. And I knew that I wanted to knit this into something that would kind of stand alone. At first I was like, color work, contrast color for color work. But I love this so much and I think it would be a really awesome crop. And I wanted to knit this to kind of get a sense for what size to do because my body is changing and it's been an interesting time to kind of figure out what size I am. And also as a breastfeeding mother, my breast size changes very significantly even throughout the day. So, you know, there we are. Sorry that I'm like talking about my breast size on the podcast. I understand that that might be a little weird for some people, but that's just where I'm at right now. So I made this as kind of a toile to use this. And I actually think I'm gonna go down a size and then that way it'll be a little bit more tight fitting, but I can make it longer. I'm gonna use this, and then I'm gonna use a couple of different contrast colors, again, to do some color blocking at the top. So I have this mini skein, which is just a mini skein from my advent calendar last year. It's this like really rich dark green, which I think would be so cool with that. And then I still have more of the Juicy Decay in the like Fancy Tiger Crafts colorway. And I thought the 3 of these together would make a really, really cool crop. So that is a future knitting plan. And yeah, so I essentially knit that crop in order to understand how to knit this one. But those are all of the finished objects I'm going to talk about. There might be some more that I finished that I don't remember, like socks and such, but I am going to really try to make this a much more frequent podcast because I think it will make it easier for me and more fun to connect with y'all. The thing is like when I go 2 months, I have so much to share that it becomes like this feature-length film that's like insane. And if I just shared every week or every other week, it would be much more manageable for me and more fun to connect with you more frequently. Anyhow, I digress. So let's move into some works in progress. The first one that I want to talk about is the Petite knit Anker suit, and this is a little baby knit that I'm knitting for my daughter, Edie Mae, and I am using 2 different yarns to knit this. The first is this is the Family Jewels in Spincycle's Dyed in the Wool colorway. I've been just like slowly collecting Dyed in the Wool and I love it so much, but I haven't been using it. I've just been like collecting it and I'm really trying to actually use it more. And so this is a beautiful yarn that I am pairing with a Fibre for the People in their dark green colorway. I'm sorry, I don't remember what it is, and this is kind of like tied in there. So I will put it below, but it's like really dark emerald green color. And I am knitting the next size up. And it's so beautiful. So the top of the Anker suit is this really lovely 1x1 rib yoke. You do some raglan increases and then you move straight into the body. And I'm just knitting round and round, and it's knit at a fairly tight gauge. So it's actually taking me like longer than I want it to at this moment, but it's fine. It's neither here nor there. I did want to show off. So on here, I have this beautiful stitch marker, which is from one of my friends, my internet friends, who has the Time Weaver shop. And I ordered these and they came so fast. And Nicole had sent me this like beautiful little package. And she even sent me some extra stitch markers. It was like such an amazing little package to get right after I had a baby and I was just feeling like a little overwhelmed. So yeah, I feel like I have like a little friend to knit with my amazing little stitch marker. I really love it. I have them on literally all of my knitting now. And yeah, this is really beautiful. It is a like quartz and then like a little piece of, I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's like a kind of sage green color. Oh, so beautiful. So that is the Anker suit for little Miss Edie Mae. She wears her other Anker suit all the time, which it's funny because it's like she loves it, but it's like I love it, so I just put her in it. She's a baby, so. The next work in progress I will show off, I'm also knitting the Spincycle yarn. This is something that I purchased the kit to make this. And this is the Cinnabar Shawl by Andrea Mowry. I purchased the kit to make this right after I finished in the NICU, and I was just like in a dark place and was just like feeling overwhelmed about going into another really hard month. And so I did some retail therapy and couldn't be happier. So I am knitting this out of the like original called for yarn. So this is Spincycle yarns versus in this like white and gray colorway. And then this one is the Spincycle dyed in the wool in the Devilish Grin colorway. And I have been knitting almost exclusively on this. I am obsessed with this shawl. So let me just show it off. It's a little bit hard because my needle is like too small now. I actually decided to make this because I was watching the Stranded podcast and Jude was making this out of some of his colorways. I can't remember, but he's knitting it out of like a light green and light gray colorway, and it was so beautiful. And I was like, I love that. And so I decided to knit it myself. I don't have any shawls that are this really beautiful red color, and I really wanted one. Can we just discuss that I feel like I need a black sweater to wear this with? Because like, I really love this combo that's happening, but I am just knitting away. This is a really, really fun potato chip knit. And I'll say it's potato chip because of the changing yarn. So there are a lot of different yarns that do this. They're like Zour balls. The Woolly Thistle has a really cool like DK weight yarn that's color changing. There's obviously Spincycle. And then there's like hand spun stuff like that, which like you could just buy a drop spindle and like make some yarn and it would be so cool. But anyhow, this is really fun because you have 2-color garter stitch, and then you have this beautiful slip stitch detail that then goes into brioche. And the brioche, you kind of have mostly the sort of changing color yarn as the outside yarn, but then you have these little blips where you do the other yarn as kind of the outside facing yarn. And it's beautiful, it's fully reversible, and I am obsessed. I will also say that it is just so fun to make because it's easy, but something different is happening at every round, which sometimes with where I'm at right now, I need to be able to just like pick up my knitting, look at it and be like, where am I? Oh, this is where I am. Okay, I'm just gonna start knitting, but it's not just stockinette, which some people love stockinette or garter stitch flat, but like for me, I get real bored. So yeah, it has like all the perfect combinations of what I love to knit. So I'm obsessed with it. It's so beautiful. I'm just going and going, and hopefully we'll be done with it very soon because I only have like 1 or 2 more rows left to do. Okay. The next work in progress I have is just a swatch. So this is something that I can't share very much about, but I might be able to share more soon. And that is because Candace of Farmer's Daughter Fibers, she is doing a, she is going to be the guest editor of Pom Pom magazine, and I have never designed anything in my life, but I am gonna try to submit a design, which like almost certainly won't get picked, but I just wanted to show my little swatch and say that, you know, even if you've never done it before, like put yourself out there, you can do it. It would be so fun. So this is not really showing anything because you're not allowed to show anything. And so this is essentially just like a little tiny piece of knitted fabric that is not actually going to be used in the final piece. But I'm really excited about it. The submission has to be done by October 6th. And so I'm like, I've been working on that and thinking about it and troubleshooting how I want the design to look. And I like almost certainly won't get picked because that would be crazy. And part of me is like, I really want to get picked, but I also don't want to get picked because I think it will be an interesting challenge to try to actually design and grade a sweater, because obviously I want it to be very size inclusive and things like that. So it'll just be a lot of trial and error. And my plan is that even if I'm not picked, it's actually something that I'm really excited about. And so I think I'll try to design a sweater and release it to the world, kind of regardless of if I get picked or not. So this little tiny swatch, this is in, this is in Peace Fleece worsted in the Palomino colorway, and I love it. I really want a sweater out of that. Okay. My next work in progress is a sewing work in progress. This is a baby quilt for one of my best friends just had a baby, which is so exciting. This is actually the little sister of my dear friend Eddie, who died last year in a car accident. It's his little sister. She had a baby, which is amazing. And Eddie is who my daughter Edie is named after. So this is a family that I really love and I'm really close to, and I really want this new baby to feel my love. And so I'm making them a baby blanket. This is it. These are just fat quarter fabrics that I got from Fancy Tiger, and I did the Disappering 9 quilt block, which is the same quilt block that I use for Edie's baby blanket. And here it is. I'll just try to show it off. This is a little girl who this baby blanket is for, and I just picked out a bunch of like really beautiful fabrics that I liked and put them together. One thing that I am doing for this that is different from Edie's is that I'm doing a panel of embroidery on this. And the reason why I'm doing this, let me show it off. It is a barn owl. So you can see I'm actually done with the owl and I'm just doing the sort of surrounding branches and things like that. And the reason why I'm doing an owl is that this family feels as though Eddie visits them in owls. And so I picked some fabrics that have owls and wanted to embroider an owl on there for them so that this baby can be kind of embraced by their Uncle Eddie also, even though he can't be here with us. So this has meant a lot to me to work on. I will say I love quilting. I actually really, really love quilting, like easy quilts. Like the Disappering 9 quilt block is the easiest block in the world and it goes really fast. Like I quilted the whole top of this in one day, but the embroidery is what is taking me fucking forever. I do not like embroidery that much, okay? Like, I love the way it looks. I think it looks gorgeous, if I do say so myself. But it is so tedious. It's crazy, so crazy. Anyhow, that is the baby quilt for Miss Etta. So the next thing I want to talk about is just a little bit more sewing. And that is what I am planning on doing right now, which I am actually planning on making a sewing vlog out of this because like I said, I am really trying to connect with y'all more frequently. It is like something that is important to me. And so I had talked about how I got these new pairs of pants, and with getting those, I got 2 pairs of jeans and I feel so much more myself. I'm so happy I did that. But with that, I don't fit into any of my work clothes anymore. Because like work clothes aren't really stretchy normally. I have like a couple of dresses that I can wear, but other than that, I don't fit into like anything anymore. And so I thought like, why not use this opportunity to make more of a me-made wardrobe? So that's what I'm doing. And I got the fabric to sew 4 different pairs of the Persephone pants by Anna Allen Clothing. The first ones I'm gonna make are out of this amazing twill fabric, this gray twill fabric that I got from Fancy Tiger Crafts. And I got the thread as well. So this is the top stitching and the thread that I'm gonna go with it. And then I, at Fancy Tiger Crafts, also got these closet core button fly, and I got one of each color. They have 4 different colors, but this is the, sorry for the crinkling. I kind of like that. It's like ASMR. This is the copper color. So I'll just show it off. I have an itch. So I think this will look amazing. So I'm gonna take you along the ride while I try to sew these pants. I've never sewn pants before. I've sewn skirts, shirts, and dresses. So we're gonna give it a go. I like wearing pants more than skirts, shirts, or dresses. Well, I guess I always wear a shirt, but I like wearing pants more than skirts or dresses. So I'm excited to give it a go and just try it out. That is all the making. So I thought I would tell you quickly about a really awesome Fibre outing that I had with my friend about a month ago. So in Northwest Colorado, in the little town called Craig, Colorado, there is a fiber mill. And this is really important to me. I'm holding this up because this is actually pottery that I got from the fiber mill, which is Yampa Valley Fiber Works. And it is so important to me because I grew up in the Yampa Valley, and this mill is so cool, y'all. I'm gonna be inserting some video of the mill itself, but wow, it is amazing. So it is a mill that uses entirely animal-based fibers and no synthetic fibers at all. And they also do like completely natural process for the milling. And so normally, most mills will use spinning oils in order to spin the wool into the singles that then get plied. And this is how you can get like cheap yarn from like Holst and things like that, where the spinning oil actually hasn't been washed out of the wool. But the Yampa Valley Fiberworks mill actually doesn't use any spinning oils, no synthetic materials at all. And in order to spin the wool, they actually make the mill really humid to kind of counteract the kind of static and things like that. And it is so amazing. We went there and we got a tour of the mill, and everyone who works there is so warm and welcoming. It was like a beautiful experience. It was so fun. I've been to that mill before. I actually got, so my Kess cardigan, the gray cardigan, like gray all over cabled cardigan, is from wool from that mill as well. But I got a couple of sweater quantities while I was there. The first is this green. It's like olivey green, and I only was able to get 4 skeins of this. And so I'm planning on knitting like a slip over or something like that. So not a full sweater. I guess there is that sweater from like Lina magazine that is on knit at like a fairly loose gauge, so technically I would have enough to make that sweater, but I think a slip over would be cool. So that's the plan. This is worsted weight, it's 100% wool, and actually the wool from Yampa Valley Fiberworks so is entirely from their flock. So this is just so local to me, it's insane. This is literally from sheep that are grazed and live in the Yampa Valley, and then the wool is sheared and spun in the Yampa Valley. It's just so special. It feels like you're getting to knit with home, which is just amazing. So I got 4 skeins of this, and then I got 6 skeins of this. This is like a color that is honestly very outside of my comfort zone, but I saw it and I was just like, I need that. So I bought 6 skeins of this, and it's this like really vibrant orange, kind of like sherbety orange, pinkish orange colorway. It is called Seasons Change, which honestly reminds me more of spring than anything, but I really want to knit this into, oh, what is it called? I think it's the Ingrid sweater by Petite Knit, that one that has like slip stitches and like kind of all over texture. That is the plan. So I love this, and I think I'm gonna knit this in like fall, in like January or February, when it's like dark and I need something bright to like make me excited and have fun. So very cool. And then I actually have some more yarn from the mill, but this I purchased from a different company. So Yampa Valley Fiberworks spins their own wool, and they sell their own wool at the mill. So you can go and tour the mill, and then they have like a small shop that has like wool and other wares that they have made for the sort of mill shop. But they also spin yarn that they spin yarn for other producers. So this is the High Country Wool Kindred, and this is the yarn company that is also owned by like Hue Loco. And I have a sweater quantity of it's like a color work sweater quantity. So I have like 3 skeins of this, 1 skein of this, and then 1 other color. And I'm planning on knitting that like Caitlin Hunter like V-neck kind of colorwork sweater where there's a band of colorwork at the bottom. I forget what it's called, which is insane because I've knitted twice, but each time I've knitted it just like didn't fit me, so I've just given it away. I gave 1 to my very, very good friend and now like amazing knitter Sutton, and then the other one I gave to my best childhood friend Miriam. So I've knit that sweater twice and I really enjoy it, but both times the gauge was off, and so I'm knitting it a 3rd time, and hopefully this time it will actually fit me. But this wool is not from the flock at Yampa Valley Fiber Works, but it is spun at Yampa Valley Fiber Works, and it is just so squishy and beautiful. So I just wanted to show that off. It was a really, really amazing experience to go there and see the spinning, and they're so like passionate about fiber and about wool, and it's really interesting too to hear them talk about the process of deciding exactly what the wool wants to become and how different staple lengths can be spun in different ways and produce like different types of yarn. It was so, so cool. So if you're ever in Northwest Colorado, I highly recommend going and checking out the mill. It's also just cool because like when you drive up to it, it's literally like on a farm. It's like a mill on a ranch with like sheep around it. It's like perfection. So that is all the crafting I have to talk about. Whew. I have more things to show you, honestly, but I just like don't want this to get like too out of hand. And like I said, I am really, really trying to make a concerted effort to be here more frequently. So I think that's all I'm gonna share for the crafting today. And I want to move on to the reading. So I have only read 2 books since we last saw each other, which like 2 books, like 1 book a month is not terrible, but for me, it's like pretty bad. Like normally I read like at least 4 books a month, like usually 1 book a week, but I had a child and I restarted work, and that's just what happened. So I read 2 books though, and I loved them both. I'll first start off by this book. This is The Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb, and this is the 2nd book in the Farseer trilogy. So the first book is The Assassin's Apprentice, and then it's The Royal Assassin, and the 3rd book, spoiler alert for what I'm reading right now, is The Assassin's Quest. This trilogy is so good. I care so much about Fitz and Burrich. It is surprising. Like, I normally care about my characters, but these I care so much. I'm getting ahead of myself. So this trilogy, it's hard because I don't really want to talk about this book, because I feel like if I talk about this book, I will give away what happens in the first book, which you obviously have to start from the beginning. So this is the Farseer trilogy. It is a book that follows Fitz, and Fitz is the bastard son of the crown prince of the 6 duchies, which is kind of the world that this takes place in. And there are 2 main magic systems that happen within this world. There's the wit and the skill. And the wit is all you've ever wanted in an animal companion. The wit is essentially the ability to connect with beasts and not necessarily control them, but kind of like work with them and have such a close connection with them that they trust you enough to kind of follow your lead and things that you want them to do. So that's the wit. And the skill is the specific magic that takes place within the Farseer line. And the Farseer is like the royal line. And that magic is important because it allows the Farseer or the royal line to kind of communicate telepathically. Is that what it is? Like telepathically with others and see what's going on and send messages and things like that. So it's so good. It's amazing. It essentially starts off with Fitz's grandfather dropping him off at the keep and saying, this is the bastard son of Prince Chivalry, and I don't want to take care of him anymore. He's your problem. You take him and go. And Fitz like doesn't even have a name. Fitz actually is like the shorthand for like bastard. So they call him Fitz Chivalry, which is like chivalry's bastard. It follows him. There's like so much learning. It's really cool because it follows him from when he's like 6 years old, and then, you know, we're now much later in his life. So I love it. It's so good. I also care so much about the animal companions, which I knew I would, but it's just, the characters are great. I will say that it's like fairly slow moving. Like it's much more of kind of a character study and like getting to know and love Fitz than anything else. So, it's amazing. The next book I read is literally probably my favorite book that I have read so far this year, and that is Beartown by Fredrik Backman. This book is insane. Let me read the back because I also like don't really want to give too much away, because I actually think reading this book, part of it is just like seeing the story unfold as it goes. So let me read the back so that I'm not like giving anything extra away. A tiny community deep in the forest, Beartown hasn't been the best at anything in a long time, but down by the lake stands an old ice rink, and in that ice rink, Kevin, Amat, Benji, and the rest of the town's junior ice hockey team are about to compete in the national semifinals, and they actually have a shot at winning. All the hopes and dreams of this place now rest on the shoulders of a handful of teenage boys. Under that heavy burden, the semifinal match becomes the catalyst for a violent act that will leave a young girl traumatized and a town in turmoil. This is a story about a town and a game, but even more about loyalty, commitment, and the responsibilities of friendship, the people we disappoint even though we love them, and the decisions we make every day that come to define us. In this story of a small forest town, Fredrik Backman has found the entire world. I like almost got teary-eyed just reading that. This book means so much to me, I can't even explain. It is perfect. It's literally perfect. I cried so much reading this book, and mostly because I cared so much about the characters. I have not cared so much about a group of characters in a really long time, and I think that this book deals with a lot of complex and a lot of really, frankly, challenging and troubling things, but it handles it with such beauty and such grace, and also like made me really care about hockey, which I will say that while I was reading this, the Colorado Avalanche like had just won the Stanley Cup. So I already cared more about hockey because my husband is a huge hockey fan. He grew up playing hockey. He loves hockey. He was actually at There's a fly. He was actually at the, last time the Avalanche won the Stanley Cup, he was at the Game 7 where the Avalanche won the Stanley Cup and like saw Patrick Waugh like hold up the Stanley Cup. So anyway, hockey is like important to my family and I do care about hockey, but I honestly was just kind of like, I watch hockey from time to time. Like I don't really care about that much. And this book like made me really care about hockey. But I think the thing that's important about this book is it's not about the game of hockey. It's more about how a community that has been going through a lot of hard times kind of uses that as a crutch to kind of get through and to have something to look forward to when there's a lot of things that they don't have to look forward to. So hockey like means more to this community than you would expect. And holy shit, this book is so good. The way that it deals with the characters, it's like unlike anything I've ever read. And I've read Fredrik Backman before, and I feel like I hadn't really heard that much about Beartown, but I got it because of the hockey aspect, and it blew my mind with how good it is. I will say that there is definitely some trigger warnings that you need to go in order to, you know, protect yourself before you read this book. And the three that really come to mind for me, one is sexual assault of a minor. One is racism. There's like overt racism in this book. And the third is death of a child, like death of a baby, and the way that that impacts one of the characters. That doesn't happen in this book, but it's more of like an underlying storyline that kind of describes how one of the characters responds to what is happening in the community, is the fact that he has lost a child in the past. And for me, my niece died right before she was born at about 36 weeks gestation. And so death of a child is something that is very near and dear to my family. And so that was hard to read. And like, there are people in my family who I would absolutely say they should not read this book, because it does talk about that, something very similar to that happening. So, but oh my God, if you want to read a book that feels like winter, feels like fall, because it's ice hockey, but then also has like found family and a team and a community that's going through a lot and a lot of complex messiness, you know, I think like this just describes like the human messiness so well. I'm gonna reread it this winter because it's that good. It almost makes me like, I don't know if anybody would ever want to do this, but I feel like it could be fun to do like a book club with this community. This would only work if I come on more frequently, but it would be really fun to like pick a book every month that we all read together, and then like have like a Zoom call where we can like get on and talk about the book. I just think that would be really fun. So I don't know, is that something you'd be interested in? Please let me know. Anyhow, if those trigger warnings are something that you think you're like okay with, then please pick up Beartown, because it's the best book I've read in a really long time and made it onto my like bookshelf of my favorite books of all time. So yeah, wow, this book, it's one of my favorite books ever. Like I would say top 5 favorite books of my whole life. So could not recommend this enough. Hello, it is the next day and I forgot to share some of my current favorite children's books. So I thought I would come on here and talk about a couple different books, because these days I read a lot more children's books than adult books. So I think it's fun to share my current favorites. The first one I want to talk about is Beautiful Oops by Barney Salzberg. This is so cute. This is essentially a book that talks about how you can make your mistakes into something magical. And the art in it is so beautiful. It essentially is like really messy. So here it says, oops, a torn piece of paper, and it's like an actual torn piece of paper, but then it says, is just the beginning. So this is just an example. It has really, really beautiful artwork. It's really interactive. And I just really love the message that like, hey, just because something went wrong doesn't mean that it's not something beautiful. So I really like it. It kind of feels like a collage and an interactive, like playful book, and it's really artistic, and there are like all sorts of like fun things to play with. So I really love this book. And there is a sheep. I feel the need to show that there is a sheep. There's like this crumpled piece of paper that turns into a sheep. So for those knitters out there, it's a really cool one. And then the other one I picked up at my little local bookstore is Finding My Dance by Rhea Thundercloud. This is so awesome. So this is essentially about a woman who is from 2 different nations. Let me check. Yeah, so 2 different nations, the Ho-Chunk Nation, which is in Wisconsin, and then the Sandia Pueblo in New Mexico. And it essentially talks about her learning to do the different like traditional dances that then she like performed different powwows around the United States, but then how she used dance in a lot of different ways and like became classically trained in like ballet and modern and tap and things like that. And it's just like a really beautiful journey to talk about both her like connection to her ancestors through the traditional dance that she does and the like beautiful costume that she gets to wear, but then also her dance life, you know, going forward and all that dance had done for her. And it's just really, really beautiful. Like the artwork in this is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, I really, really love it. This has been a really fun one to read, and I would definitely recommend for like an older kiddo. I got this for the intention of actually giving to my niece who really, really loves dance. So yeah, wanted to show those off. Anyway, that is all I really have time for this week. I need to clean this up and go to the aquarium with my daughter. So maybe I'll put in some video of me and Edie at the aquarium. That would be fun. Anyway, I hope y'all are taking care of yourselves. I hope you're enjoying the change of season, whether that's winter into spring or summer into fall. I hope you're just taking it in and taking care of yourselves and being kind to others. And I'll see you soon. Bye.
you.